From Austin, Texas to Essex, England, ladies and gentlemen, the Slipstream Podcast, episode 014. How are you doing? My name is Andrew Dalton. I'm your host. Alongside me, once again, and as always, Mr. James Lingy12 Lingfield. How you doing, buddy? I'm
good. I'm particularly red. If anyone is watching this rather than listen to it, I know my face sort of resembles the Alfa Romeo livery of lots of red and white patches because in Britain we've got like 3 more days of sun before it goes for the next 6 months. And I've sort of been essentially photosynthesizing for the last 72 hours.
I was going to ask you about that. I was going to ask you about that because you got on the video and you're more tan than I am. And I live in Central Texas, so it's not often you get on a video conference with a proper Englishman, and the Englishman is more tan than you, has a better tan than you do at this point. I'm actually a little jealous of the amount of sun you got. I should probably do that at some point before the sun goes down here, but I think we got another 2 months of summer. You guys have 3 days and then it's just gone? Is that how it works?
The sun has not been out for the last month. It's been a terrible summer, and it's like the sun overslept and oh god, I was meant to be up all summer, and then he did overtime for 3 days, and now they've literally said from tomorrow morning it's going to be horrible and miserable. So if you don't get the sun now, then you'll get no vitamin D till February. So I made the most of it. I'm very sore and very red, and my mum is very smug because she told me to put on sun cream, but here we are, Alfa Romeo livery face.
There you go. And that's actually how the English do their weather forecasts. They just get on the TV and they're just like, it's going to be horrible and miserable for the next week, and just deal with it because you're in England. And is that how they do it? They just get on.
Pretty much. Yeah. Is the weather such like a point of conversation in America?
Because it's small talk. Yeah.
It's number one weather discussion. And it's always started by some very mild expletive like, bloody hell, weather's crazy today, or God, dang, you seen the weather outside, cool, blimey. And it's like the acceptable, whether it's hot, cold, mild, cloudy, snowy, it's always the shock of the weather in Britain. It's annoying, but what can you do?
It changes a lot. I imagine your basic weather report at a local news station in Britain is just, it cuts to a guy in a pub, and his name's like Nigel, and he's got a pint, and he just is drinking the pint. He just looks at the camera. He's like, sawed off, and then he just goes back to the pint, and then that's the entire weather report. It's like, all right, well, thank you, Nigel, for that weather report.
And that's BBC News. That's how they do it. Yeah.
There's no sun. There will be no sun for the winter, and get it in now. So anyway, man, dude. We're back a little quicker than usual, right? We're back a little quicker. We're trying to shift it sooner in the week, a little bit sooner in the week, and tape it a little sooner after the races, because we got a window to split, James, and that is between the real life races and the league races that I take part in. And so we got to do it on a Tuesday or Wednesday, one of those two, Tuesday or Wednesday. And so we're back a little quicker than you might have expected us from our last episode. If you're one of our loyal subscribers to the YouTubes, thank you very much. And if you're not, just look at that subscribe button and that like button and just kind of nudge it, kind of give it a little love tap with the elbow.
Ease it out. Yeah. Ease it out.
Just breathe on it. Hold the like button up to your mouth and just kind of breathe on it. So just gently, just kind of breathe on it, and then subscribe to us, and then we'll have fun every week. Zandvoort, the Netherlands. Great to see that track in real life. We will get to that in a minute. But first, an article that I want to lead with from the race.com, Mark Hughes via the race.com. Albon deal hints at Mercedes Red Bull F1 power shift. And it says in here, Albon is an intriguing choice for Williams, given the team's historic links with Mercedes and the driver links with Red Bull. It was noteworthy that the announcement, when it came, was made by Red Bull as well as Williams, and that Albon seems not to be severing his ties with the organization which brought him into F1. So I don't know how. I guess it said they had to end his contract, but he's not completely ending that relationship. And Mark goes on to say, or at least suggest, that we're going to see some sort of power dynamic shift within F1 itself over the next few years. And Albon could be one of the spearheads that brings that into fruition, as they would say. So we'll link this article out in the show notes, but James, you and I read it beforehand. What do you think about that? What do you think about the implications of Alex Albon coming to Williams, which I'm just excited for? I woke up to that news this morning and it made me happy to see Albon on the grid again next year. So what are your thoughts on just Albon and then this implication in general?
Well, I mean, firstly on Albon, I'm really pleased for him. I think when he lost his seat last year, I don't think anyone, granted, I don't think he was ready for the Red Bull seat, and that showed clearly he was way off the pace of not just Max or where that car should have been. But I don't think anyone thought he didn't deserve a shot in F1. I think there just wasn't the available seat. But leading on from that article about what Mark said about there being a power shift, 25% of the drivers on the grid now have direct links to Red Bull. And you compare that with obviously the two Mercedes drivers and what, Ocon maybe? That's it. Yeah. You know, the field and the whole infrastructure of F1 feels Red Bull-y. Obviously, with Red Bull becoming engine suppliers themselves in the near future, there does feel like this Mercedes complete dominance is falling apart. And I think this is, obviously we've seen Red Bull do well in the past with, you know, the Vettel era, but I think this is a different type of dominance, not just purely on track with a driver, more about the sport itself. I think they want to establish themselves both on track and in the paddock as one of these super teams like Mercedes, like Ferrari. And I think this is a smart move to do that.
Yeah. First of all, let me just say I really enjoy the term Red Bully. So how would you describe the grid in 2022? Well, it's very Red Bully. You know, if I had to say, are you talking about a bully that's red colored? No, just the drink. It's very Red Bullish around this entire grid. But yeah, I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, this is a power shift that's happening not only with the two primary teams, but organizationally as well. And you're kind of seeing all these pieces fall out of the Mercedes organization and somehow find their way over to Red Bull. And that is pretty interesting given the fact that they are on the verge of starting their own powertrain company. And pretty telling, if you ask me. I think a lot of people behind the scenes probably know some things that we as the pedestrians don't. So it's pretty interesting. I'm really excited to see what the powertrain side of things ends up looking like next year. I really never fully bought into the idea that Honda just wanted to tuck tail and run after this year. And that was kind of validated whenever they confirmed that they would be providing IP and a lot of staff and things like that for Red Bull powertrains next year moving forward. So I'm really excited to see what that partnership brings, because you may not have the Honda name, and that's for probably a myriad of reasons. But you're going to have the Honda intellectual property, and you're going to have the reasons for why Honda's been such a stalwart in the past and present with Red Bull, and then in the past with McLaren and things like that. I mean, they've been pretty remarkable as far as engine performance overall. I mean, give or take a few weird years, especially earlier this decade with McLaren. But I mean, there's a reason why they've been on top so much as an engine supplier. So I never really fully bought that they were just going to be like, we're done after 2021. So when Red Bull introduced this powertrain company, it was really interesting. So it'd be cool if they just ran the engines on Red Bull too. You know what I'm saying? Like just, you know what? Hey, what are you using for gasoline? Oh, we're just using Red Bull, you know?
Actual Red Bull. Yeah.
Yeah. Actual Red Bull. And they're just like, well, I don't know if that'll work. And they're just like, well, it gives you wings. It's like, well, you guys I think you're hedging your bets a little bit too closely here. But yeah, what's up?
I think Red Bull have missed such a branding opportunity, not branding their front or rear wings full of Red Bull. And just like putting Red Bull gives you rear wings. It's just such an easy branding opportunity. I mean, they need to sack the guy. They need to sack the guy who's doing the liveries, because that's the most open goal you'll ever see in your life.
Yeah.
Like, come on,
it's
guys,
just right
what
there.
are you doing?
Right there. Yeah. For any Americans listening, open goal means there's not a goaltender in front of the goalpost in the football games, the original, the old school football, soccer for you Americans. So, and you know what, James, I'm just here as a liaison between the British and the Americans. And that's really my main function here. Sign me up at the embassy. Give me a job. What are we going on? What are we doing? But yeah, just put it on the side, at least the side of the rear wing, put in a little small font, like a little quirky line. They used to do that in the 80s and 90s too, right? With race cars and stuff like that. Those dudes with mustaches that looked like mine would just be all over the racetrack, putting like little quirky, cocky sayings on the cars and shit, like quotes like under Mario Andretti's name, like quotes. He'll just be like, grip it and rip it, just like under the car, under the name on the car. You're just like, okay, who put the extra time into like just writing this quirky saying? Bring those back, Red Bull. Put them up under the wing,
I think actually there should be more driver variancy in liveries. Like, I think it'd be really cool for like the Red Bull. Let's say Checo's Red Bull and Max's Red Bull. Whether Max's Red Bull had like a splash of orange, and Checo's had like that eagle that's on the Mexican, the Mexican flag. I think that would just add so much character to the sport. Actually, on the topic of liveries, while I remember it, have you seen the new special Alfa Romeo livery for this weekend?
I have. Yeah, it looks good. It looks Christmassy, but it also looks very Italian. So I like it. They changed a couple of colors, and automatically it's like 100 times better. So it's like, okay, why don't you just do that the whole season? It's okay to do that the whole season, guys. Yeah. But real quick before we move on, again, we'll get to that Alfa Romeo stuff in a little bit, because we got to talk Bottas and all the fun stuff, all the fun announcements. But I don't want to go too far away from this article just yet, because if you are listening, you haven't gotten a chance to read this article. What Mark Hughes is implying is pretty apparent within the first 4 paragraphs. And I don't think the scope of it can be understated, because we're talking about a complete power shift here with Red Bull and Mercedes. And he says this: let's think of it in the long-term strategic plans for a moment. With the new power unit formula coming up and there being a fundamental disagreement between the existing PU manufacturers and VW about what the new formula should be, there seems to be an awful lot of potential future common interest between Red Bull, VW, and Williams. Williams has long been a close Mercedes ally as well as a customer. Toto Wolff even retained a share in both teams for a long time, as he extricated himself from the former to be the boss of the latter. But the ground has shifted since then, and with the purchase of Williams by the Dorsland Capital Group and the new management not being part of that history. Concurrently, Honda's pull-out triggered Red Bull into taking the plunge and becoming a power unit manufacturer, with the massive investment that implies. So, I think this is pretty wild. I mean, what do you make of that? Do you think he's just saying Mercedes just isn't going to be as powerful, or do you think he's saying that VW is going to come in and mix things up there? What I take from that is just he's saying, with the new regulations and stuff like that, we're going to see kind of a dominant slip from Mercedes. But I don't know if there's anything that suggests they're going to fall out of that kind of top 3 register as far as constructors titles go, or constructor standings at least. Do you see them falling any farther than that in the next few years?
I mean, I think it's difficult to tell exactly what's going on with the new regulations, because I think it is so shrouded in secrecy. Yeah. I'm looking at it less from the top team's point of view and more from Williams. Obviously, in this engine era, in this regulation era, they've been nowhere near as good as they should have been. Williams is a historic name in F1 that shouldn't be trying to live around the back of the field. And I really would not be surprised. Thank you. I would not be surprised at all if they are firmly in the midfield next season. And I think this is more of a attempt to not be seen as some sort of Mercedes feeder team. If to build your own team, you can't be just as subservient to another one. I think they're almost severing their ties with Mercedes a little bit by taking on Albon. if they move away from it, Mercedes as an engine supplier, they begin to be their own sort of separate entity, which I think is the plan moving forward. You know, they want to be back where they belong and, you know, a team fighting for podiums, sort of where like McLaren and Ferrari are now. And I don't think they can do that if they keep this one-sided relationship with Mercedes, which I could see happening.
Yeah. I think what it means for me too is to play off of that. I think we're looking at Williams as a possible Red Bull powertrain supplier, or customer team within the next few years. Do you think this Albon driver situation, not to over dramatize the situation, but do you think Albon in a Williams seat, a Red Bull driver that hasn't completely cut ties with the organization, do you see that being a little bit of a weird rift between Williams and Mercedes, a la Red Bull and Renault 2018, 2019, something like that?
I can bet that Toto Wolff is fuming about it.
You think so?
I can bet you back at Brackley, there's been many desks are smashed because of it. And I'd like to see how he responds when it comes to Nick de Vries. I think Nick de Vries is the trump card that Mercedes own when it comes to sort of this, I say new generation. George Russell is the new generation, but the new generation where Red Bull have got Albon and Tsunoda and Gasly. And aside from Russell, there aren't very many obvious Mercedes juniors that have real potential apart from de Vries. I know Ocon was part of the Mercedes team. As much as I like him, I can't see him making that change from decent midfield driver to world champion contender. And then I could see a real interesting battle to get Nick de Vries in that Alfa Romeo seat to respond to Albon going to Williams.
Ooh, that's a good.
I love the chess game of silly season. The driver market is absolutely fantastic. It's one of the best things about F1, and I can't wait to see how that plays out.
Yeah, it really is going to be interesting. That's a good lead into what we're wanting to talk about with Alfa Romeo overall, and also just, you know, Bottas in that first seat, a fin for a fin, I guess, with Alfa Romeo. That's their strategy. Take one.
An eye for an
finish, man.
An eye for an eye for a fin for a fin. Yeah.
Yeah. Eye for eye, fin for a fin. I believe that was in Ecclesiastes, right?
That's Gandhi, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's Gandalf. That. Yeah. Oh, Gandhi. I thought you. I'm so used to saying Gandhi that I thought you meant Gandhi, and that was like some sort of English slang for Gandalf. Like, oh, Gandhi there, right?
Well, like my mate, you know, Gandhi. I'm on first name terms with Gandhi.
Yeah. Well, the old Gandalf. You know, me and Gandhi go way back. But wise tomes aside, I think this is going to be interesting, man. I'm glad to see. Honestly, you know what? I'm going to be honest with you. Not the biggest Bottas fan, so I'm not going to say I'm glad to see him in the seat. I'm interested to see him in the seat and to see what he could do. I kind of wanted to see two fresh faces in that Alfa Romeo next year, and I don't think that's really their MO. I think Haas was kind of a one-off situation in the sense of like, let's throw two rookies in there and see what's going on, because they're in the middle of whatever they're doing over there at Haas. So I don't think that's kind of the MO with a lot of these other teams. And you could see it with Alfa Romeo, how they have Kubica in there, who's going again at Monza to the behest of a stricken Kimi Räikkönen. But I mean, they could go with a newer driver in that reserve seat. I was talking about this in the Discord earlier with my league gents. And I don't think that they don't strike me as the team that's going to set off and put a rookie in a reserve seat or anything like that. So it's kind of not surprising that they're going to go with like two rookies next year, should they decide to part ways with Giovinazzi as well. What do you think the likelihood of Giovinazzi staying is, though? Because I feel like that's kind of my go-to prediction is Giovinazzi stays and Bottas is in that seat. They give it a go for a year, and next year is do or die for Giovinazzi. I feel like he's got one more for whatever reason. I just feel like he has one more year. You were telling me earlier, though, that you think they would have announced that already. Should he be staying?
Yeah, I just think it makes sense if you're going to announce. But I mean, like Williams, they announced Albon, and the second and on the same announcement, they said he will partner Nicholas Latifi, finalize any sort of rumors and uncertainty, and you can move forward and plan from there. If they were going to keep Giovinazzi, I think we know by now.
Yeah.
If they end up keeping him, the only reason I think they haven't announced it is they've got their eyes on Callum Eilert or Robert Schwartzman, or one of those FDA drivers who they're waiting to see the end of the F2 season. With Antonio, I like the guy. I think he has occasional moments of brilliance, like qualifying this weekend, which we will get onto, I'm sure, later. I can't see him really improving. I think if Alfa want to move up the grid, I don't think keeping someone who's sort of stagnant like Giovinazzi is the way to do it. I think it's much better to gamble on someone like Eilert or Schwartzman who might turn into a real top driver in the future.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't know Schwartzman was Russian either. I'm looking up his statistics right now.
No.
Didn't know he was a Russian driver. That might play into it a little bit. I'm not sure how much it would or in what way that does, but I didn't know that. I thought he was definitely British. So that's interesting. Do you know what's Eilert's nationality?
British, I'm pretty sure.
Is he British? Okay.
Pretty sure he's British, yeah.
Interesting. I'm always kind of interested in how I don't know though. At the end of the day, I don't think any team has like nationality alliances. I know that Ferrari, it seems like they would want to have an Italian, or at least Alfa Romeo would want to have an Italian in the seat at some point. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Haas with their funding would prefer a Russian driver like Nikita in there. But I'm not sure. I'm just kind of spitballing. So that's always a little interesting to me to see where the nationalities come from. But I don't know. It seems I just have Schwartzman in mind because I always see him in that Alfa Romeo kit on weekends in the pit lane doing tests and things like that. If I'm not mistaken, he's done a fair bit of testing with Alfa Romeo in the last year or two. And I could be wrong, but I feel like that might be a skewed perception, but I feel like I've seen him a lot in the last couple of years, at least last year. Saw him doing a lot of testing. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm looking up his stats right now. 6 wins, 9 podiums, 3 pole positions, 4 fastest laps. But his best finish was last year, 4th in the championship. So who knows? It's kind of a lackluster championship, performance if you're trying to look for somebody to go to the next level. So yeah, we'll definitely see. I think that's a good point about Giovinazzi not being announced yet if he were to stay. So that would be pretty interesting. I don't know why, I just feel like he's going to stay another year, but I think you might be right on that. I think we're going to go with a rookie, put a rookie in a veteran and have the rookie learn from I think if you put a rookie in that seat, if you put an Eilert or somebody in that seat, it'd be a pretty great situation. And they might have a leg up their rookie season as opposed to like a Mick Schumacher who gets to share a team with the kid that John Wick chased and John Wick after he shot his dog. So like, I think if Alfa does go with a rookie, I mean, it's going to be a really good situation for whatever rookie they choose to put in that seat. Because I know if I was going into Formula One, although I'm not the biggest Valtteri fan, I would definitely love to have someone with his experience and his know-how and his skill next to me to kind of guide me along. That's just the ideal situation. Put a rookie with the veteran, let him learn, So yeah, man, interesting times. We'll see. And back to that Alfa livery, it looks good. Keep the green all season.
Yeah.
Keep it on there. It just looks so nice. It reminds me, there used to be an American pizza chain here when I was a kid, and it would be in shopping malls all the time. And you'd go and get a slice from a pizza chain called Sbarro's. It was like Sbarros. I don't know if they had those over in the UK or not. But it basically their entire get up looked like that Alfa Romeo livery, just red and green and white everywhere. And you saw it and you're just like, I want pizza. So I think that's their plan.
But that's interesting you mentioned that about pizza slices. That's not a thing in Britain. Like, you never buy a pizza slice. Like, because your pizzas are huge, like a slice, that's lunch. But for us, like, you buy a whole pizza that's, I don't know, 10 inches in radius.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which
We should do a
compared
segment.
to you guys, that's nothing.
We should do a segment next week in celebration of the Italian Grand Prix, and we'll do an experiment. And this will be like a segment experiment. Do you guys have delivery there? You get pizza delivered?
Yeah, we have moved on from the Victorian period.
Okay, beautiful. I don't even know. I don't know. Who knows? We don't have.
Just for the podcast side, I had to shovel some coal into the generator to get the internet going. Yeah.
Clean the chimneys, Governor. Look, we don't get. I can't just get fish and chips delivered, and I live in the land of everything delivered to your doorstep, including bullets and milk. So, like I said, I don't know. So, yeah, that's interesting. So, here's what we should do. I will get the best pizza I can delivered to my house, and you get the best pizza you can delivered to your house, like the most authentic. You know what I'm saying? Go pick it up if you want to, but like whatever's like in your immediate vicinity, over there in Essex, get it, and then I'll get mine, and then we can compare them on the show, and then maybe have a vote to see whose looks better, something like that. We could have a taste test. I think we should do that for the Italian Grand Prix. Let's do a little planning, little on-air planning. Yeah, let's do it. Oh yeah,
why not? Yeah, I like that, dude. Good idea.
Yeah, it's amore, huh? So I always have to get like every Italian Grand Prix, got to make pasta that night. So
of course,
yeah, I think Sunday's my cheat day too. So like do a little pasta, some bolognese sauce, a little Caesar salad. I don't know. Do you do spaghetti and meatballs over there? Pasta dishes.
It's like I don't cook a lot, but I can make a mean spaghetti and meatballs. That's like I put on like Dean Martin. A glass of red wine, and my cooking skills increase by 20%.
just 20%, like just like a solid 20. I don't say just like that's a good bump for just putting on Dean Martin. It's like that'd be great if that was quantifiable. Like his cooking just increased by 20%. What happens? Like, well, I saw that he put on a Dean Martin record. It's like that's got to be it. It's like actually dudes trying to impress dates all the time. They're just like, why are you buying so many Dean Martin records? What's going on? So a secret weapon.
You got to season the meatballs with like pepper, paprika, and that's amore. And you put that all in, and that works. Yeah. All
right. Did you just use the lyric from the song, or is that a real seasoning called That's Amore?
No, that's amore is a seasoning to life, isn't it? When the moon hits your eyes, like a great pizza pie, then you've made a great spaghetti. Yeah.
Well played. I was like, is that some sort of British Italian seasoning that you guys got? It's just like in a can. It's just called That's Amore. It's just like you pour it on. We need some of that Italian seasoning. We'll get the That's Amore from the pantry. So, but that's an even better reference. Yeah, man, I'm excited for Monza next week. We'll get to that at the end of the episode. And because it's just a classic, man. I just looked it up today on the map. I'll just look it up. I'll look up Monza on Google Maps and just look at it. I'll just look at the old like overhead view of Monza and just be like, yeah, 4 days, baby, and just like talk to my phone. And then my roommate's like, hey man, why are you talking to your phone like that? I'm like, mind your business. So anyway, Zandvoort, Dutch Grand Prix. Man, it was so cool. It was so cool to watch. I had been waiting for that. I think anybody playing the game, if you're a gamer with this particular video game, and you've played it for the last year and a half, you know that this is the first time this race has taken place in the last year and a half since the game released it in last year, January or July of 2020. So it's been a really cool race just because that anticipation of like playing it for the last year. You're just like, what is this track that's on a beach? It feels like a go-kart track. Does it exist in real life? Can we watch it? What's going on? So not the most exciting race though. What are your initial reactions just watching it? How did you feel Sunday just watching the whole thing? And just give me your rundown.
I've seen better races. I don't think it was terrible. I was really surprised that there were I think there was one yellow all race when Seb had a spin at the end. But it was just so great to go to a track with character. I think so many modern F1 tracks are so dry, like these Tilkedromes like Sochi and Abu Dhabi and Jeddah that's coming up. And even though maybe you could have a track with better racing, it was so cool to watch those cars bank, and the crowd adds so much. I don't think it would have been as good a race if we didn't have a Dutch driver, and not only a Dutch driver, but a Dutch driver favourite to win the race. But yeah, not bad. I know I was quite pessimistic on the show about how the track would be. I was pleasantly surprised.
Yeah. It was a pleasure to watch, just not necessarily because of the wheel-to-wheel action, which there is a notable lack of. But one, it's the only track on the calendar with banking, like substantial banking. And two, there was the banking, and then two, it was just fun to watch these cars go around this track. It was just a fun track to watch these cars perform on. So you're just kind of, even though you're just watching, a processions, pretty much, it's just like, man, it's cool to see these cars on this track. And then that whole atmosphere as well. It was just super pleasant to just see packed. You just want to see packed grandstands. It's just nice, man. It's nice to see that happening. So you're just like, cool, man, I'll take it. This was really fun. Formula1.com Tech Tuesday, Technical Tech Tuesday article. Once again, another contribution from Mark Hughes and Giorgio Piola. Why Zandvoort's banking left Mercedes playing catch up to Red Bull. So basically they were saying that turn 2 into turn 3, or the turn 2 that goes into the first banking, that banking sweeping left-hander. They were losing like something like 2 100ths pretty much a lap to Red Bull on that corner alone. Yeah. Which was pretty interesting. That was kind of cool. How do you even get those like that kind of telemetry? Like, how are you even able to measure that? That's cool. How are you, what program are you using? Cause I want to use it. So that's pretty interesting. What's up?
No, I think it's just interesting in terms of because that's the point of like max weight transfer. Really, you go in and you sort of have to attack that. You're carrying all the speed off turn 1, you attack that turn 2, and have to get the car straightened up and around the bend. And I think the fact that Mercedes were weak there says a lot about their suspension package and the sort of rake they're running. And I don't think anyone was surprised. I think we all knew that Mercedes were running the lower rake, lower downforce setup. And we all knew that Red Bull would be strong at this track. But it is cool to see them pinpoint certain areas that a Mercedes is weak. And I think then we could transfer that into other twistier circuits. Like I think Mercedes will struggle at Brazil later in the season. I think Mercedes will struggle at, if we go to Kota, maybe even Jeddah, depending on how twisty that is. I hope we do too. I hope we do.
I haven't bought my tickets yet because I'm not sure. I was going to buy them a few weeks ago and they're like, oh, you might cancel. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll hold off on the $500 general admission pass. So
damn, it's that much.
I think it's up there for a little bit right now. So we'll see, man. We'll see what's going on, but I hope they're there. But yeah, to your point, it's interesting to see what the high rake versus low rake is doing this year. There's clearly an advantage with the high rake. It makes you wonder if Mercedes or these other teams, I guess it ties into their power unit package. And it goes back to the discussion we were talking about earlier, who's going to carry the advantage into this new regulation area. And is that a suspension package that needs to be paired with a Mercedes power unit is what I want to know. Because as far as I can see, any Mercedes customer team, or pretty much every customer team of Mercedes right now on the grid is running a high rake, unless Williams is a high rake car, because I feel like they might be.
I have a feeling they're not, because they were strong at like straight line circuits. Yeah. They were strong at Spa, they were strong at Silverstone. Yeah. And I'd imagine that would indicate a low rake setup.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that. I think Williams would be the only question mark, because we know Aston Martin is. We know McLaren is low rake this season. So I feel like the Williams car is the only car with a Mercedes power unit that's like a shorter wheel span. Have you noticed that? Yeah. It's like a little bit more compact than the McLaren or the Aston Martin, which makes me think they might be on the high rake side. I'd have to go look. That's interesting. So yeah, I think it's pretty interesting how you keep going it's like a tennis match with these two cars, which car is better at which circuit. And it's not as cut and dry as it was in the past, where it's like, oh, street circuit, going to be a Red Bull thing. It's a little bit more convoluted this year, and it makes for a lot more excitement. But speaking of Red Bull and their performance, Verstappen did well. Sergio Perez with another kind of lackluster, disappointing deal going on. I mean, pit lane to P8 is pretty good. I mean, let's not mince words. Like, that's phenomenal. To go from, 20th to up 12 spots. Granted, he's got the car to be able to do that in, so hopefully he'll be able to do that. But still speaks to his racecraft and things like that. So, man, a lot of rumors, not a lot of rumors, but like a lot of talk, at least in Discords and things like that, about how disappointing has been this season. What do you think about his performance? So we're after the summer break, we hit Zandvoort and we hit Spa, at least with qualifying. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have given him driver of the day myself.
Yeah. Did he get driver of the day?
Yeah, he was given driver of the day. I mean,
I missed that.
I've seen Lewis Hamilton plenty of races where he's been spun to the back of the grid, or he's had a pit lane start, whatever. And I would be willing to bet if that was Lewis Hamilton, he'd be in that fight, because I know he was 8th, but he was quite a way behind the top 7. And I would bet Lewis would have got 5th, 4th. It's another disappointing start. It all came from qualifying P16, which is inexcusable in a Red Bull. Right. He's had Bahrain, which is a difficult qualifying. I'm struggling to think of other ones off the top of my head, but it's a multitude of difficult qualifyings. And then you can be as good as you want in the race, but you're already on the back foot. And even then, if you go too purely the race, he flat spotted his hards very early on that completely ruined the strategy. It's such a shame that was given to driver of the day when you had someone like Fernando Alonso driving that very average Alpine into P6, and that's a phenomenal drive. That's the sort of driver of the day material. Yeah.
I don't know why he didn't get it. I think he's been there's a lot going on this season, but Alonso and his performance up to now has been just a steady increase. And you're noticing it more and more, along with Gasly as well, who Button actually called that out during the race, or qualifying or the race. One of those two. Button called it out, and it was nice when Button was like, "Yeah, we haven't talked a lot about Gasly, and he's just crushing it, huh?" And then Brundle tried to play it off like, it's like, okay, all right, Button's right, but Jensen's very right about that. Gasly has just been crushing it the last couple of months, not even the last couple of months, whole damn season, and he's just kind of flying under the radar there in that AlphaTauri. And I don't think it could be overstated how well he's pushing that car, because that car typically isn't that fast. He's making it that fast. So it's incredible to see what he's doing, and Alonso as well. A couple of the unsung heroes of this season. And it makes you kind of wonder what Checo's doing in that Red Bull. Because we know it's hard to drive, but at the same time, he's got the best Red Bull out of the last 5 years easily. Yeah. So they put him into a championship contending and the championship leading Red Bull right now. And that's been the case the whole season. So we know that it's built for Max, and we know it's probably tailored towards him. But at the same time, you're in that second seat. You're expected to perform. He's got a race win. 2 podiums so far? I don't know. 2 or 3. 2 podiums. But he's not putting it in the place it needs to be on Saturday. And I think that's what's killing him, is his qualifyings, like you're saying. If you can't qualify in a car that's built for qualifying, it's like taking a Ferrari F2004 and like being P10 every it's like, all right, man, this car is built for qualifying. So Ferrari's like, I don't know what you're doing. We literally built this car for qualifying. So, let's see how he does the rest of the season. Because I think while he is doing a lot more than the last 2 drivers in that seat have done, we got a few races to go before I think they'll make a decision. She's already locked in for next season, so at least they want to see, what they're doing next season as well. So I don't think he's in danger or anything like that. But yeah, it'll be interesting. And I'm sorry I don't have a more staunch opinion on that right now. I just want to wait and see. And I wanted to see what you thought about that too. It is average. It's kind of average. And I was a big Checo proponent for the longest time. And somebody in our league Discord, shout out to Cake Thomas, made a good point the other day about how good of a car he's in right now compared to Alex and Gasly.
Yeah.
And things like that. So I was like, it made me think, I was like, oh yeah, that's right. It is kind of lame for right now. So let's go Checo. Hey, Checo, let's go, dude. What's going on? I love talking to him as if they can hear me. He's like, oh, like they interview him next week and he's just like P2. They're just like, what happens? Like, well, I was watching this podcast with this man with the mustache and is
that famous Frenchman Sergio Perez there?
Yeah,
because your accents.
Was that French? Was that a French accent? I was trying to do.
Very good driver. No, please. Max was very fast, but I feel I was just fast.
That could go. See, that could be Spanish. Yeah, that was definitely Latin origin. You know.
Thank you. Yeah.
I cannot do French. I don't know. I just most people like do a French accent. I'm just like make noises. I'm just like, oh.
That's close enough. That'll do.
Like do a French accent, and I'm like that assistant in the principal's office from Ferris Bueller, just like, I'm just like
and just no one's questions it because it sounds close enough. Yeah.
Work on the French accent. That's the lesson for the day. But yeah, man, Zandvoort was Zandvoort, and that's all there is to it. That crowd is insane.
Yeah,
that crowd is insane. That crowd are the Dutch like the rednecks of Europe? Is that what's going on? Is that what I'm seeing? As like the Dutch are like kind of the rednecky, pikey, from Snatch, kind of like. Are they the partiers of Europe? Like how does that? What's that dynamic like? What's their reputation over there? How does that play out?
I mean, I don't think particularly. The main sort of international sport I follow is football, is soccer, and they have, I guess, as good support as everyone else, roughly. Yeah. But I think a lot of what this was is they wanted to make a point about Zandvoort being a great track, being passionate supporters. I think that was also coupled with when Lewis was doing his post-race interviews, there were definitely some boos, but it seemed like there was a conscious effort to drown out those boos with cheers. I think because they wanted to be seen as a great place to go, a great Grand Prix destination, even if it's not necessarily the best track. And like I said earlier, it's great to have a track that's not sterile, that feels so alive and so passionate and so loud, and it adds so much, doesn't it? Even if the track is not great, that atmosphere adds so much.
Here's the crazy thing about a race like Zandvoort is the track. I think the track is great. There's a lot of history there. They did some upgrades that made it a little bit more viable for modern racing. But that's the deal with tracks like Zandvoort or maybe races themselves like Spain or something like that, is with a track like Zandvoort, those drivers aren't necessarily doing a lot of wheel-to-wheel action, but they are driving against that track. That track throws you around and it beats you up. That's a hard track to drive. I don't think it's really possible to grasp how tough that track is on your body in a car like that. I was paying attention to G loads during qualifying on the little G load display, and it was it was mental. They were it was like the toss around they're getting with a lap, and they've got to do 70 or so of those in a race. You're driving. That's a race that you take against that track. A lot like golf in a way, where you're playing the course. You're not playing against other people. You're trying to beat that course. And if you beat the course, then you do pretty well on the results. And I think that is the same thing with that track, where you're playing a really historic track, or you're driving a really historic track. And if you could keep it on that track and keep it together, you'll come back with a decent result. And so I think that was the fun part about that race, is seeing what these drivers can do on this track that throws you around so much. And also noteworthy enough, Seb kind of falling back a little bit, talking about a physical track. One of the older drivers that kind of lost it a little bit. I think he had a spin there at the end, you said.
Yeah.
But he went to hards really early. I think it was like lap 11 they pitted him. Might have been before that. But that was pretty interesting watching that. I was like, why are they pitting him so early? And I never really got an explanation. I was just kind of watching the data tracker and like seeing if there's some sort of apparent strategy going on. And there never was. Did you catch that?
I can only guess that they were trying to get out of the dirty air. Because I know Lando mentioned, I think they mentioned Alsa's boxed, that he's going to be going so much faster outside of that dirty air. And that's also why when Perez boxed, he was so quick compared to the rest of the field out of that dirty air. I think I actually mentioned in Seb reminds me of qualifying in the incident with Mazepin and Schumacher. I heard a source, now this is purely a guy on Twitter, but I do believe this, that said there is becoming real frictions at Haas between the two drivers. Because I don't know if you heard, there was the incident in qualifying, everyone blamed Mazepin, and the Mazepin's come out and said it was my turn to go first. And
it was my turn to go first.
Schumacher went out first, and to be fair to Nikita, I could understand why he'd be upset by that. And then in the race, do you remember when he made a very late defensive movement?
Yeah, I do.
Mick almost put him in the wall. They were battling.
You're just like watching it. You're just like, settle down, children. Settle.
Like, and even Mick come out and said, "Why are you defending this hard for P18?" And Nikita said, "Why not?" So I could be very, very interested to see if that relationship is done beyond repair. I don't think the Haas guys are 100% confirmed yet, and I don't think Mazepin will be going anywhere because he's funding the team. Could this be the end of Mick Schumacher, or could Mick Schumacher even be moving to Alfa just to get him out of that team?
That would be so amazing, and I would love to see that. I would love to see Mick go to Alfa instead of somebody that doesn't have any time in an F1 seat during the season. That would be incredible. Yeah. And also, if Ferrari has a hand in any of that, I think that'd be the smart move if they have any interest in seeing Alfa move up the grid with their engine package. It would be something where they'd want to see somebody with at least a season under the belt, as opposed, and the pedigree of a Schumacher and that name and what that brings. Just having that name on the side of a car means a lot, if not outright talent. But I don't know. It's funny because first of all, you said they were fighting. I didn't catch that part where they said it's my turn to go first, or Mazepin said that. But when you first said that, I thought that you meant that Nikita Mazepin was griping or whining because it was his turn to go first in the race, like finish before the other.
Well, Nikita, it's been your turn since March, dude. Like, no rush. Tick-tock, dude.
As if they have like an unspoken children's agreement. Like, it's my turn to go first this time. No, like two kids fighting for the front seat, just like, I don't know why that's where my mind went instead of the garage thing out of qualifying. But I was just on here, just like, that's my turn. Which would be so hilarious,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know at this point. Earlier in the season, I was like, Schumacher is clearly the better driver. I don't know sometimes, man, because he falls back pretty hard in that Haas, and I don't know what's going on. I think we don't get enough airtime with him. Honestly, we don't get to watch him. I would actually kind of like to have a race where I just listen and I watch Mick's onboard and listen to his radio, and then I do it with Mazepin too. That would be an interesting experiment. Kind of watch him throughout a whole race and see what happens, because understandably, we don't get a lot of airtime with them with the race broadcast, so it'd be kind of interesting to see how they're really developing down there. I think we need to shed a little bit more light on that as far as the media goes with Formula One. Like, what are these two dudes doing back there? They're just kind of chilling in the back, they're the dudes like standing next to the fireplace at the party. Nobody really pays attention to until they're fighting. You know what I'm saying? You go to a party, there's two guys named like Robert and like Carl back there, and they're just like chilling, very quiet presence, and all of a sudden they're fist fighting. You're just like, whoa, who are these guys? Why are they fighting? They almost just broke my mom's vase. So I think it'd be cool to see. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe I'll do that this week. Watch, put a screen on and just put it on Mick's camera, get an extra, like get one of my tablets and just throw it on Mick's view the whole time, because that'd be pretty fun to see what's going on, because
We can have a segment called Haas Talk that's 30 seconds long. So yeah, welcome to Haas Talk. And this week, Nikita and Mick finished 19th and 20th again. Okay, anyway, Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great. Actually, yeah, that's good. We should do that. Let's do Haas Talk. And we'll make we could bring back the Haas graphic from the first, it was because like we put out our first video episode when that like ship was stuck in the canal. You remember that like ship that was just stuck in that canal for like weeks since nobody got it out. People are just like, yeah, this ship is just stuck here in the Suez. We don't know what to do. Or do we just replace it with a Haas car? So we should just bring that back. Have that be the title logo for it. Haas Chat.
Haas Chat.
I like Haas Chat. Haas Chat or Haas Chat.
Yeah.
Haas Chat sounds better. Yeah. Let's do it. Oh man. That's the best segment idea I think we've come up with so far. I'm hyped on that. Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm here all day, man. I'm here all week.
We're here all day. Tip your bartenders. So, let's dip out pretty soon. But I guess before we go, let's do Monza predictions. I wrote mine down. If you don't mind, actually, no, you go first. What's off the top of your noggin? What can you do?
So
Monza prediction.
I've gone unconventional. The winner will be Charles Leclerc for the Scuderia.
Yeah.
Then we will have Lewis Hamilton. Then we will have Daniel Ricciardo. I think the McLaren will run really well this week. They've done well at all sorts of power tracks. I mean, that was Ricciardo's best performance of the season was Spa qualifying P4.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think turn one's going to be chaos. I think we're due a couple of engine failures from the big teams that I think
that's true.
Eventually it's going to be one. And that's what I could see. And I think Ferrari know how important this Grand Prix in front of the fans for the first time in 2 years after such a difficult 2020 will be.
Yeah.
And Leclerc loves these pressure drives. So I think Charles Leclerc will take Ferrari's first win.
Nice. Bold. I like it. Give me your P2 and P3 again, because my roommate was texting the house asking if anybody wanted something from Panera Bread. So I'm a cat apparently with no attention span and looked at that instead of hearing your P2 and P3.
Good to know. I think Lewis will take P2. The Mercedes normally runs well at these sort of high speed tracks.
Yeah.
And then I think Ricciardo, who after another really disappointing race last week, finally making Q3 and being outraced by Lando. Yeah. He needs some sort of redemption. And if the crowd can't get behind him and improve him on a track that should suit the McLaren, I don't know what to say.
That's interesting. I don't know why I wrote off McLaren in the top three. I guess I wasn't thinking about it much. But that's interesting to see. Or to hear rather, you talk about Ricciardo like that. That's bold. That's bold too. We're going to Leclerc and then Ricciardo P3. I like it. I like the tenacity. I respect it. Man, I'm going safe with P1 and just saying Hamilton's going to pull out a win in Monza. And I think he's due for a win. He's been hanging back for a little bit, but I think he's due this week. I've got Ham, Verstappen, and then Carlos Sainz in third. Carlos Sainz P3. Just because he's in a Ferrari and he was so close last year that he's got that extra hunger for the P3. Yeah. So, man, I think either one of these podiums, I would rather see your podium. Actually, that's a great podium. If I could reverse it and then go back to call it again, I would just take your predictions because that's good. I like the Leclerc first again. And it would be a kind of a good little redemption win after taking it 2 years ago, but it being kind of like an asterisk thing, where it's just like, yeah, they won, but where did they really win, with the fuel thing with Ferrari, their fuel pumps. And so they're kind of running a hot engine that was like a little, you know what I'm saying? Cause that was a crazy year. That was a phenomenal win. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. And also not apparently, but obviously every team's going to gain an edge. I'm never one to like come down hard and like, cause I feel like, at that level, it's kind of like the Lance Armstrong thing. It's like, yeah, of course they're doing that because you're at that level of like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like, are you surprised? But also at the same time, it was a pretty wild deal. So, hey man, that'd be cool to see. Well, I would just want to see Leclerc on a podium again. He's been working hard. So him, Gasly, and Alonso this season. are just crushing it behind the scenes with their respective cars as far as like pulling them up the grid order. Yeah. So yeah, I would love to see, I don't think anybody with a pulse wouldn't like to see a Ferrari suit on the podium Sunday. So I think we'll definitely see. I think we're going to see some kind of upset. I feel like there's some sort of surprise every race this year. Have you noticed there's some sort of weird surprise? And I did not notice that last season as much. I didn't notice the upsets as much. And I think a lot of these regulations, I've said it before, but a lot of these, maybe the cost cap is doing it, where it's just like throwing in a lot of unknowns with their formulas and these teams with their respective packages. But man, there's a lot of races this season where you're just like, whoa, it's just like, what did I just watch? So yeah, I think it'll be interesting. But I think we're in agreement that we're going to see a Ferrari on the podium. So I hope so, man. That Tifosi is a sight to behold. I was telling a good friend of mine earlier, she is I believe a second generation Italian. She's applying for Italian dual citizenship right now. I was like, are you familiar with the area around Monza? And she's like, oh yeah, it's beautiful. There's a lake just north of it that's like Lake Como. And Monza is just north of Milan, which I never thought about. I never zoomed out of that map and was like, oh, that's Milan, Italy, which is like one of the most beautiful, places on earth. So it's a super, super beautiful place, a lot like Monaco. So, man, it's just a fun race to watch too, because it's just in such a classic area. Yeah. I wish they incorporated that oval still, man,
Oh, a bit banking on the final quarter and parabolic.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, that'd be awesome. Make it happen, guys. Hey, Monza, make it happen. All right. So, man, let's cut it off there. We'll see what happens next in this Sunday. I guess I'll be texting you. I usually text you all day while I'm watching that race. So it's a pretty fun deal. Yeah. So we'll see what's going on, and we'll get in our pizza ideas for the week. So I got to do some research. I got to see what place I want to have represent Austin, Texas area pizza, because there's some good ones here. So we'll see. A lot of brick fired options. So James, man, thank you for your time. I'm gonna let you go. It's like what, 1 a.m. over there?
It is. Yes. It's 3
pushing
to
1 a.m. Over in the old country.
Yeah. Difficult.
I'm about to eat dinner, so it's a lot earlier over here. That you still see the sunlight. So I'm gonna let you go. And thanks for your time, man. And I'll see you next week, huh? Pizza and
cool. Cheers. Take care. Ciao. Ciao, Mella. See ya.